Greetings from the tavern, everybody. Welcome to another Sunday here at the Hearthstone Grandmasters for the Americas region, the best region, joined by the best casters in the world, at least in this building. My name is Frodan. I'm joined by TJ Sanders. Together, we're going to walk you through another 5 furious Hearthstone match. Today is September 8, 2019, and on this day in history in 1974 is when President Gerald Ford pardoned President Nixon for the scandal that happened at Watergate.
Oh, wow.
That's right. So a lot of drama happened about 45 years ago. And a lot of drama is happening this Sunday. You know why? Because we have a great schedule of matches. We're going to start things off with a nice little appetizer, if you will. ETC versus Firebat. ETC going to struggle to get out of last place. TJ Firebat looking to cement his position, as well as prove to everybody once again that he is not washed as people accuse him. And also, for a second shareable to start things off, TJ, Strifego fighting for the same thing. I met up with him last night, got a chance to chat with him. I said, Strifego, why do you suck? And he said, you know what, I gotta improve. I'm trying to do things outside the game. He thinks that he can't focus. But the reason why, the drama today, TJ, is because of match number 3, Nalgadon versus Gallon. I am so pumped for this match.
The double feature today. The featured matchup and then the Frodance featured matchup.
No, there's only one featured matchup. It's the Frodance featured matchup.
It's going to be a good one.
Match 3.
Gallon, in his interview yesterday, fired some serious shots at Nalgadon. Of course, I don't think anything was ill-intentioned. I think he's just trying to fire them up and get both of them ready for their match today. Nalgadon currently at the top of the standings for Division A at 4-1. But I think Gallon said it, his mental attitude's not quite there yet, and I do think that despite his 4-1 record, his play has not lived up to that. So I want to see Nalgadon, if he is going to secure his place as the, for sure, first place division after week 3 here, that he does it well, that he does it cleanly, that he crushes Gallon.
And there's 2 ways to go about it as well, TJ. 1 is for the drama. 2, for the standings. Gallon with the defeat over Nalgadon, or victory rather.
Tie him.
He tied for first place.
Yeah.
And this is the playoff picture. Nalgadon, Eddie, Fireback, Gallon, with Muzzy and Purple hot on their tails, but we have couple players. We have 2 players who are 2 games back, Strifego and ETC. At this point, they might feel like they're playing for anti-relegation as opposed to a playoff spot. But we have a lot more Hearthstone to play the next coming 3.5 weeks. Over in Division B, Just Sam locks in another 2-0 week, firmly in first place of Division B. Bloody Face, Monsanto, and Frozen right behind them. But of course, the question becomes on the bottom end, Delay, PNC, Amnesiac, all 3 of these players within danger zones of relegation, which is becoming a deeper and more pronounced storyline. People said not enough stakes in Season 1. It's a joke. And now, when things are on the line, all of a sudden, the system of relegation is a joke. I can't believe one of these players that are super good has to lead this league. That's what it is. Yeah. I say relegate all of them. All 16.
Maybe not all of them. There's a couple
15.
of them.
We'll keep the winner. Relegate 15 players.
There's a couple of them that I think are played really well, that I like a lot, that I'd like to see play next year. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing, especially with Europe. You know, a lot of emotional moments today in Europe, especially surrounding sort of the bottom of the standings. You know, the Fino-Casey match was a big one.
Yeah.
And kind of brutal, but that's just the nature of the game. If you have a couple missteps along the way, a couple bad beats along the way, if you don't step it up halfway through the season now, or almost halfway through the season now, you're going to get relegated.
Look,
and someone's going to take your place.
This isn't the Hearthstone Group Therapy Grandmasters League. This is Hearthstone Grandmasters where if you lose, and you lose too much, you're out.
Yeah.
I want to see that. And as much as I acknowledge that some of these players are also my friends and colleagues and peers, and I do want them to do well, and I wish the best for all of these players' success across all 3 regions. I want to see some high stakes, and I think high stakes Hearthstone is where it's at. When you go to the World Championship, TJ, and you see players like Hunter Ace and Viper play, and you realize that not only, of course, is the title of champion on the line, but there's like $100,000 on riding on this arch villain Rafam. That's really exciting. That's a lot of money to play for, and I think that's what a lot of players are weighing right now as their decisions are super heavy. Right, every single thing that they can choose to do, or every little line that they take, have massive implications, because this is a kind of metagame where you get punished real hard.
Yeah, it's a tough metagame with a lot of complicated decks and complicated board states, and one slip up, as we've seen many times, small or big, can lose you a game, which loses you a series. Best of 3 is not forgiving whatsoever, so there's not really room for any of that kind of stuff.
What's the risk that people are going to take? We do take a look at one risk that Monsanto has brought this weekend. It is the Highlander Reno Mage. Reno Mage, a deck that got nerfed. The good old nerf back came for the kneecaps of Jaina Proudmoore. I believe that is the hero that we are donning today. Just kind of took a couple of thwacks at Luna's Pocket Galaxy, 5-7 man. Took a couple thwacks at Conjurer's Calling.
And I thought there was one more, but I'm entirely mistaken. But yeah, Monsanto taking the risk here, and I think the big thing about the Highlander Mage is that it's a much more targeted strategy now. You can't just bring Highlander Mage because it's good against everything and just take wins because Luna's Pocket Galaxy carries you through a matchup where you wouldn't otherwise win. It has its spots against aggro. Luna's Pocket Galaxy still good against slow control decks like Warrior. So I think it makes sense considering that the deck can't be targeted. You can have it in your lineup and choose not to play it. It's just there for those situations where you can steal a win against Warrior in a series where that matters a whole heck of a lot.
All right, well, that brings us to our first break. We're done hyping about the high stakes that the players are battling for. It's still just week 3, but after today, we'll be almost halfway
Almost
through.
halfway.
It's going to be a fun time. What's going to happen? The stories are going to develop here on Sunday at Hearthstone Grandmasters for America, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hearthstone Esports is home to many competitive formats, each with their own unique variants and rules. Today, we're going to break down one of them, the Shield Phase Conquest format. And here's how it works. To start, both players bring 4 decks, each from a unique class. The match starts with a Shield Phase. This is where both players choose one of their own decks to protect, making it ineligible to be banned. Once the Protect phase has ended, both players will then ban one of their opponent's decks, removing it from the pool. Each player then selects which of their remaining decks they would like to play first, before beginning the first game of the series. When the first game of the series is over, the winner's deck is removed from their pool of eligible decks. Both players then select the next deck they would like to play. The loser of the first game can choose to replay with the deck they lost with, or they can choose one of their other 2 available decks. In Best of 3 conquests, the first player to 2 wins is the victor. In Best of 5 series, such as those in the semifinals or finals of major events, the first player that makes it to 3 wins takes the W. It's that easy. Shield Phase Conquest allows players to showcase their skill set across different classes, while still giving them the opportunity to play the deck they're most confident with. Now that you've got the download on Shield Phase Conquest, we wish you well on your deck building adventures.
Shadows are rising again, darker than they've ever been. As evil descends from the skies, the world cries out, how will we survive? Out of the hall of explorers, and up from the dusty tombs, they grab their whips and fedoras. These legends of the past know exactly what to do. There might be magic monsters, mummies in the markets, and ancient mysticism. There should be scorching deserts, adventure, monster of narcissism. High stakes think annihilation, obliteration of civilization. Now is the time to be brave. Evil's come to enslave, but this league's gonna save. Oh,
ETC versus Firebat is coming up next here as our first match of Sunday here of the Hearthstone Grandmasters for the Americas region. ETC at the bottom, in the pits, if you will, of Division A, and Firebat a couple of cuts above them. Firebat in the playoff race, along with a few other players in Division A, and with the win here, can also position himself to be top 2, maybe even tied for first.
Yeah.
If Nalgidon ends up dropping his series. That's the Frodan featured match of the day, by the way.
It is. Yeah,
Now,
there's kind of an interesting situation right now where I don't think Firebat's record reflects how well he's been playing. Because almost every one of his matches this week has been very clean. This season has been very clean. His wins have been very clean. His losses, it's just, he's getting bad beats, but he's still playing to his outs even in his losses. So I think Firebat's one of the players that's at that middle that I think has the biggest potential to move up the ladder into the top of the standings.
Same with Monsanto, I believe.
Absolutely.
I put him in that boat where, the record doesn't indicate how strong they've been playing. Firebat tied for second with Eddie and Gallon. That's going to be a big break either way. Same thing with Bloody Face and Monsanto. Both those players will be playing later today, but we're going to start things off with a good old-fashioned...
Don't tell it to me, Dan. Oh, okay. Woo.
Priest versus Shaman.
I thought you were going to say
Gotcha.
Priest Mirror for a second, but Priest versus Shaman. All right. Firebat playing a slightly different version of the Priest as opposed to what we've been seeing become pretty standard across the board. He is playing one Beaming Sidekick and no Bwansamdi. So he's still adding the extra 1-drop, but not playing Bwansamdi to be able to tutor them from his deck. In his place, he's playing a second Acolyte Pain, and he's playing 2 Holy Ripples as well in that 2 slot. So it looks like Firebat is trying to counter more of these board control style decks and not give him additional game against slower decks, which I think is a meta read. He's expecting more Zoo, he's expecting more Shaman, and I think that's what his deck lists reflect, where he just needs more tools to fight for board in kind of those mid stages of the game.
I do not mind bouncers. I think bouncers are some of the most fun things you can do in Hearthstone. Because you get to double dip and you get a lot of more options. Do I return the cards now? Do I play it in later? It reminds me of the old switcheroo games that we like to play. Questing Adventure. Well,
Can't capitalize on
yeah,
it right now.
Not really that much. But yes, Firebat looks like he's off to a pretty fast start here. Injured Blade Master. Curve now. And Pyromancer number 1 isn't super important, but Pyromancer number 2 is good. And by killing the Pyromancer, he guarantees something dies so the Psychopomp can be played on curve.
Yep. Finds
Okay.
Goblin Lackey.
Goblin Lackey is pretty nifty to take out the Light Warden, which I think ETC is contemplating here. Taking out the Light Warden would be removing some of the damage that's coming in, because you do know that there are heal opportunities for Priest next turn with the Injured Blade Master being played as a 4-3.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Now, this is a pretty tough matchup for Shaman, and it's made even tougher by the fact that ETC does not have Earthshock in the list. Once you stick a big minion as Priest, you can just keep protecting it over and over again. Eventually, Shaman will just get pushed out of the game because they can't deal with massive threats. There's an exception. There was a match earlier in Europe Grandmasters between Orange and Viper, where Viper's hand was very low on spells and heavy on minions from the Priest side. He played in a Mind Control tech, and Orange was able to Mind Control tech a massive Injured Blade Master, which ended up allowing to snowball the game and win the series. So there are ways for Shaman to fight back, but a lot of it's dependent on their hand matching up well with the Priest hand, right? Them having the answers to the things that the Priest has. Because it's pretty much on the Priest. It's their job to stick a minion and protect it enough to deal lethal damage, whereas the Shaman just kind of has to play reactively for the early game and hope that they get enough board control in order to try and stabilize with Sandstorm Elementals, with Mind Control tech, potentially with big spells from Ethereal Lackeys.